This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Find all my work at mjmunoz.com. Visit the podcast page for show notes and links. Remember to like, share, and comment to help me grow. Welcome to Swinging Through Comics, episode 75. What Sentai is that? I'm analyzing Radiant Black, issue 7, which originally released into comic shops August 18, 2021. It is entitled Radiance. The writer is Kyle Higgins. The artist is Marcelo Costa. The colorist is Natalia Marques. The letterer is Becca, Carey. The cover, primary cover A, was done by Daniele di Nicuolo with Walter Baiamonte. I'm going to go ahead and jump straight into the negative of this episode, this comic. I only have one negative, which was flow issues. There was a little bit of a problem for me with how some of the combat, maybe the first big salvo from Radiant Wraith, as I call him, that's the glitchy guy, attacked. I couldn't really tell what was going on. I kind of looked back and forth, and I was thinking, well, is this following the Z pattern, or is it going left to right, up to down, or top to bottom? And I couldn't quite tell, so that was a problem for me. And there was one part of dialogue where I kind of stumbled, but other than that, I don't really. Oh yeah, it was about Marshall making the food critic joke, or he's like, oh, it's a food joke. Everyone's a critic. What food joke was he talking about? I have no idea what the heck he was talking about there, but I'm not a big foodie, so I guess I wouldn't know. So that was interesting. But yeah, so I mean, there was minor issues and just stuff that visually didn't work. I didn't like the flow of it, and it confused me. And then that just one word bubble or one little exchange of dialogue that threw me off. That was not good. But moving on to the positive, there's more of that. I got conflict, enemy, secrecy, showing, not telling, and ambition. So I really enjoyed the fact that there's conflict between these characters. Marshall is just being a jerk to everybody. He still wants to kill Red or whatever. He, in fact, tries to not reason necessarily, but he doesn't realize that Radiant Wraith is a enemy just yet, I guess, or that's what it feels like. He's not realizing it, and he's like, "Hey, can I finish this fight with Red, please? We're in the middle of something. Can y'all go away?" And then no is the answer. But then he's still being rude to Ava, and Marshall's causing problems. But I mean, they end up kind of working out some of the conflicts because they have to in order to survive Radiant Wraith's onslaught. So that's pretty cool. And then he's a real jerk to Ava. You young kids just made me wait so long. Why didn't you pull that power out right away? And he didn't understand what she was saying. And he was purposely making jokes to be a jerk, I think. When he's it's draining for you to speak for yourself, which is obviously not what she meant. But that's something a jackass would say. Which we know who Marshall is by now, right? Anyway, enemy. I find Radiant Wraith a compelling enemy. I like that the old guy, I feel like calling him Mac for some reason, but the old guy, Yellow, he says, I've identified 4 different attack patterns or attack modalities he has, and that's about, it seems like the limit of what he can do, but, it's strong and it's difficult to deal with. So, we gotta try to work it out this way. I love the fact that this guy has determined that Yellow has determined that there are these 4 attack patterns or modalities or whatever that Wraith is using, and that he is trying to figure out a way to counter it, and that he poses such a threat that he was able to trounce them all at first, and only working together, by the end of the issue we can see they've made an impact, a dent, because this guy's freaking tough. So that's cool. You've got the internal conflict between the characters, and you've got the external conflict, which is bringing them together, helping them push aside their differences and work together, and raising the stakes, basically. I like that when Marshall asks Ava and Yellow how they got together, she feeds him a line. She's like, "I'm going to tell you who I am. Are you crazy?" I like that idea that she's got this secrecy and this security through obscurity, but just on a low level, it's cool to see a character thinking like that and trying to be smart about how they go about things so that they don't end up getting themselves in big trouble. So I really like that. It's a good thing. It's very clever of her to say I'm not going to tell you who I am. It's well, you showed me your face. And she's like, yeah, well, I can't handle the helmet. So it's funny, there's like that little conceit, there's a little concession there for like, well, it's a quibble, but also it makes me think like, well, you see her face, but do you know who she is? No, you don't. So, I mean, that doesn't really help you. And she could be from anywhere. She mentioned they were in Sydney, and I can't remember where else, but they've been kind of globetrotting trying to avoid Radiant Wraith. So, yeah, that's interesting. Okay, and then showing, not telling. They're basically saying that each of these characters, white, or I guess he's black, right? Black, red, yellow, and pink, and then Wraith, all have different powers, and none of them can fly, but Marshall can with the Radiant Black power. What else? Oh yeah, pink does teleportation, red absorbs stuff and can build like an armor for herself basically. She doesn't fly, does she? I don't think she flies. Yeah. And then yellow, I guess he's got the energy beam things that he shoots out. I think that's what his deal might be. So that's interesting, but they're not saying this is my power. There's no like data screen, box popping up explaining, Radiant Black has the ability to fly. He can use anti-gravitational forces to lift this many things. Or like, no, just don't say anything about it. Just show it, and we'll get it, and it's cool. So I really dug that. It was a lot of fun. The fact that they all have these different abilities and they can put them together, and then like the thing where Marshall hits Pink or Ava with a lot of power, and then she's able to kind of recharge her batteries and teleport. It was cool. And then I guess now I understand what he was saying about the training wheels. For some reason it didn't click for me. He's saying like we can take the training wheels off and access even more power. Okay, that makes sense now. That wasn't one of the things that was bothering me. I just thought it was kind of a weird bit of dialogue, but I understand what he's saying. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And then, Marshall's had the experience. He got the cape put on because of Red hitting him real hard with power, and it charged him up instead of hurting him. So he was able to tell Ava, like, oh yeah, I got this cape once. And, it was kind of jokey comedy or dialogue. I didn't really dig it because I just didn't. But anyway, it's cool how he was able to fill her in based on experiences he's had, and he's able to give her that information to help her figure stuff out. Or, he's filling her in on stuff he knows that we know as an audience. So it's all building up from where they started, which is really fun. I like that. And then showing that space battle, that feels very ambitious. I did not expect that at all. Seeing that Ava's powerful enough to get them out into outer space, and like how far in outer space were they? Were they just right? I wouldn't think so. I know she says it drains her and it's difficult to figure out where they're going to go. And then like he had her think of Japan, but they ended up in Russia. Like, what about, like, how do her powers work? We don't exactly know. And, is it how many times in a minute or an hour she teleports? Or how many teleportation holes that she creates that are going to be taxing or draining? Or is it about the distance traveled? I don't know if it's about the distance traveled, because then how did she, if she was kind of confused and she was, thinking three-dimensional space to try to teleport everybody to safety, was she thinking about space and that's what got her into space? Or is there something more basic that caused the suit to turn, or caused that, at least one teleportation hole that she was forming, to send them near possibly these other radiant robots and whatever technology this is involved with? It's hard to say. And I don't know. But it's interesting to think, like, it's ambitious that they're throwing that out there, because maybe this is an unrelated war, maybe this is a war that the Radiant Wraith wants the powers to get back involved with, or whatever. We really don't know, and it's just it's interesting because there's so much possibility, and I love how ambitious it is. And I had no idea there would be like giant space battles in this. I thought there might be like a forming a Zord type thing to fight a giant monster at some point, but maybe they're going to be going into outer space and fighting monsters or giant robots or whatever, and being involved in some war. I don't know what they're going to do with the series, but definitely the ambition is showing, and they're opening themselves up to all sorts of possibilities. It could just be an ancillary thing, that it's not a war that they're involved with, it's nothing they'll ever touch on, nothing they have to coming back on, or like maybe like, yeah, we want to travel here in outer space later, but like, the space roads are jammed because there's this war over here. Like, okay, we'll have to route around it, and hopefully one of the people involved in it doesn't come off and attack us as we're trying to do this other thing that's really more important than some stupid war. So anyway, I like all that stuff. So as I was thinking about the issue after it was done, I had a couple of questions popped into my head. Are the Radiants going to get mixed up in that war in the stars we glimpsed? I don't know. Be interesting, but I kind of already talked about that. And then, are they going to make Radiant Wraith their extra hero? So like in Super Sentai, more than Power Rangers, because in Power Rangers it's I don't know what they call it, but in Super Sentai lore, because there's not always 5 Rangers and then a 6th Ranger, but they have extra heroes. They have extra Rangers, extra heroes, and I'm wondering if Radiant Wraith, since he looks so similar but he's a little bit different from them, if he'll be their extra hero, like, you know, Tommy with the Green Dragon Ranger with the shield and all that stuff, and the dagger, the flute and whatnot, like, you know, from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like, is that what he's going to be? Or, like, I'm trying to figure out what his story is. I kind of wonder if Radiant Wraith, like, wants the power because he was going to give it to people in his own place to help save his planet or be involved with this war or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to say. But, like, I'm wondering if there's going to be some sort of redemption arc for them here, especially because at the end, Mac, or Yellow, and Satomi found Radiant Wraith with his helmet cracked, I think, and he's, like, laid out in the snow, and they're like, yeah, it's time to get some answers. So, like, what's the deal? Are we going to figure something out about him? And it's like, oh, well, yeah, he was a bad guy because he wanted to kill them, but, like, it was for a really good reason that he wanted the powers back so soon. And especially if you can only unbond the radiant power from somebody when they're dead, then that's how you do it. That's how you free the weapon. Kind of reminds me of, like, the Guyver unit. Not MacGyver, Guyver. Look it up. It's cool stuff. Yeah, I wonder if he's got some greater purpose that he's working towards and just going about it in a really terrible way, and they'll end up redeeming him and having him be a hero character, or maybe it'll be another girl. I do like, though, why that Marshall brought up why the body dupe to Radiant Red, to Satomi, and I'll be interested to see if they answer that, but they don't have to. They don't have to get back to it. It doesn't bother me now. It was just kind of surprising, and, like, the timing of when they switched her from having a manly body look to having a female figure that they've kept up this entire issue is interesting to me, because it seems like it was more just for, like, the shock and the surprise and not something in story. But I'm guessing that in story the reason is because she wanted to show she wanted to hide her identity. Again, going back to that secrecy, like Ava was saying, like, oh, I'm not going to tell you who I am or whatever. Yeah, look like a dude if you're a lady. That way you can hide your identity better. But then also, maybe, I mentioned at the end of the previous review or analysis of issue 6 that by the end of it, Owen, Fujimoto, I think is her fiance, looked small and weak and kind of wormy and desperate as he was sweating, drinking alcohol, trying to, you know, avoid his problems. And she came in looking hardened and, like, tough. And the camera, I think, was even, like, panning up, like, from down. It was looking up towards her, so she looked more like a looming figure. And she said, I handled it. So maybe she was trying to take on that role and, like, look, I'm going to be the man. I'm going to handle this. I'm going to put you in your place and show you I can do all these things. So that could be the reason. But, you know, how do you say that in one line of dialogue in a book? It's just, I think it's better to push it off till later. So yeah, I would say this is a definite recommend. I'm going to give the art a 4 out of 5. The story a 4 out of 5. It's very engaging. Both the art and the story, they look good. It's exciting. I'm wondering what's going on, the danger that they're in, and the variety and how much is going on is all very engaging and exciting, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm definitely going to be keeping up with this series, and I'm excited for next month. I should hopefully be September. Hopefully I'll be on time with that one and not be a bit late like I've been lately. Just things have been kind of crazy, so I want to keep a consistent schedule, and I'm working towards that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you for your time and attention. I hope you enjoyed this. Check out my growing collections of analysis, art, and fiction. The bottom of the show notes might just feature a design relevant to the topic at hand. Click around and find out. You can also visit mjmunoz.com/support to see my latest designs and more. I welcome all forms of critique to improve my craft, so don't hold back any comments you have for me. I leave you with peace and blessings. This is MJ, signing out.